There are loves where you can't say goodbye. There are pains that can't be put into words. But there are moments even when your heart is shattered, you have to let go. Because there are things more sacred than romantic love. That's the yearning to be a mother, the happiness that no matter how much I loved her, couldn't give her. Hey everyone, Aiden here, it's me again, and it's another quiet afternoon as I sit here looking out the window where the afternoon sun still lingers on the lush green trees. I hope your day has been peaceful without too many worries or sorrows. Life sometimes brings us harsh lessons, choices no one wants to face. Today I'm not here to tell you about a shocking secret or a spectacular downfall. My story is quieter, more poignant, but I believe it touches upon a silent pain that many people may have experienced, the pain of sacrifice, of letting go of what you love most, not because you've stopped loving, but because that love is simply too vast. A secret I kept hidden, and the price I paid for it was my entire marriage. I still remember that morning very clearly. It was the last morning of February, and the weather still carried a hint of lingering winter chill. The mist still gently hung on the leaves in the backyard, and the cheerful chirping of birds echoed somewhere in the quiet air. She stood on the porch holding a cup of coffee, the steam rising faintly in the cold air. The cream-colored sweater she was wearing, I knew it well. It was the one I bought for her the first winter after our wedding, when we were still young, full of trivial dreams and innocent smiles. It was old now, but it still retained its soft shape, warming her slender shoulders. No one said a word. We just sat there on two wicker chairs on the porch, looking out at the small yard with a few potted plants that had already begun to sprout new shoots. Just like countless other mornings over the past nearly 10 years, quiet, contemplative, but this time the silence carried a different sound. It wasn't the familiar peace, but a heavy stillness, a wordless tragedy. The gentle clink of the coffee cup against the ceramic saucer as she set it down, the soft rustle of dry leaves in the wind. Every tiny sound suddenly became clear and sharp, as if the universe was trying to emphasize each of these last moments. It was the last morning we were husband and wife, a truth that both of us tacitly understood, but neither of us was brave enough to voice. The warm morning sun stretched across the porch, but it couldn't drive away the chill that enveloped my heart. I glanced over at her. Her long black hair still fell softly over her shoulders, and her eyes still gazed distantly towards the horizon. I wanted to take her hand, to hold her tight, to say all the loving words, the apologies, the promises I had buried for so long, but my throat choked up. Like an actor losing his voice right before the curtain falls, I helplessly watched the last moments slip away. I knew that from this moment on, nothing would ever be the same. We used to be so good. Our happiness wasn't flashy or ostentatious, but it was full and genuine. I was the first man who made her believe in love after a few heartbreaks in her youth. And she, Mila, was the only woman who made me, a dry, work in numbers kind of guy, believe in the existence of true happiness. Our life didn't have fierce storms or dramatic tragedies like in movies. Everything flowed calmly like a tranquil river, carrying boundless love and shared dreams. We once had a simple dream, yet strangely sacred. A small house with a white picket fence, a lovely little garden where Mila could plant all the flowers she loved. Roses, hydrangeas, and even tiny cacti. She said cacti are strong yet beautiful, just like our love. Then 2 children, a boy and a girl, would run around the house, their clear laughter filling every corner. An old wooden table in the kitchen where we would have breakfast together, telling each other trivial stories about our day. And an old nightlight, its soft yellow glow radiating every night, warming the room. Witnessing hugs and whispered words of love before we drifted off to sleep. I used to believe I could give her all of that and more. I worked tirelessly, saving every bit, all for those small but grand dreams. Life went on calmly until we decided it was time to welcome a new family member. We were eager, anticipating. Mila started reading books about infant care, researching prenatal classes. She sketched drawings for the baby's room named our future children. I also began looking into good schools, safe playgrounds. We planned our future in detail, a future where children's laughter would be the dominant sound. During that time, every evening we spent hours talking about our future children. Mila would excitedly talk about the baby clothes she wanted to buy, about how she would decorate the baby's room with adorable patterns. I would imagine teaching our son to play soccer or telling bedtime stories to our daughter. Those conversations were more than just words. They were the first bricks in building a happy home in our imagination. We made silent promises to each other, promises of a complete family, a bright future. I remember once Mila bought a tiny pair of baby shoes, light blue, and placed them on the table beside our bed. To remind us, "Okay, love," she said, her eyes sparkling with joy, "that we'll have an adorable little boy." At that moment, my heart swelled with happiness. I kissed her forehead, promising to do everything to make that dream come true. Little did I know those tiny shoes would later become a haunting obsession, a constant reminder of my helplessness. Until one day, a day when my entire world suddenly collapsed. I went to the hospital for a routine general checkup, and while I was there, I also wanted to check my fertility to be as prepared as possible for having children. I walked into the clinic in a joyful mood full of hope, but then when the doctor called me in, his eyes no longer held their usual cheerful expression. His face was stern, revealing worry. I sat across from him, my heart pounding, a bad feeling creeping in. The doctor sighed, looking at me with sympathetic eyes. Then he gently placed his hand on my shoulder, a comforting gesture that felt like a knife twisting in my heart. Aiden, I've received the test results. His voice was gravely, as if he was trying to choose the gentlest words. Your sperm is completely non-motile. Your chance of conceiving naturally is almost zero. We've checked very thoroughly, but I'm very sorry. Those 3 words. Almost zero. They echoed in my head like a thunderclap in a clear sky. The air in the room seemed to thicken, and I felt like I had just been sucked into an endless black hole. I heard nothing else but a buzzing in my ears. The whole world spun. The dream of the small house, 2 children, the wooden table, the nightlight, all of it vanished like soap bubbles. I felt an extreme emptiness and unnamed pain. It wasn't just disappointment, it was despair. I couldn't give Mila what she longed for most, what I had promised to bring her. I thought I could give her everything, but now even the most basic element of a complete family I couldn't. I sat there numb. The doctor continued to offer comforting words, other options like artificial insemination or adoption, but I couldn't hear any of it. All I felt was emptiness, helplessness. A man who couldn't even have basic fertility, what kind of man was he anymore? Shame surged, drowning me. I felt useless, inadequate. I imagined how Mila would react when she heard this news. How eager she had been, how much she had dreamed of children. Would she be disappointed in me? Would she leave me? Thousands of questions swirled in my mind, making me want to scream, but I couldn't. I stood up, walking out of the clinic like a ghost. The sun was still golden outside, people still bustled about, but in my eyes everything became blurry, meaningless. I didn't know how to go home, how to face Mila. That secret, like a giant boulder, suddenly pressed down on my chest. A cruel prophecy. A death sentence for all the dreams we had meticulously built. I hid it from her for several months. Those were long, drawn-out months. Every second that passed was torment, a burden weighing on my soul. I was afraid. Afraid the truth would destroy everything. Afraid to see Mila's disappointed eyes. Afraid of losing her, the woman I loved more than my own life. I thought it was better for her to believe that not having children was due to fate, rather than knowing this heartbreaking truth. I was too proud, too cowardly to face my own imperfection. Every time Mila mentioned having children, I found ways to delay, to avoid. Let's take it easy. Love, don't rush, children are a gift from above. Or, I think you've been working late a lot lately. Maybe it's stress, that's why it hasn't happened yet. I deceived myself, and I deceived her too. I knew it was wrong, but I didn't have the courage to face the truth, not strong enough to accept my own flaws, not brave enough to see her disappointed eyes. I began to live in a shell, a world of deceit where every word, every action was calculated to hide my deepest fear. I saw her buy all sorts of pregnancy tests, from common brands to the most sensitive ones heavily advertised online. Every morning I'd see her quietly go into the bathroom, closing the door tightly. I'd hear the water running, the sound of pacing footsteps, and then a terrifyingly long silence. A few minutes later, she'd come out with a sad face, sometimes red-rimmed from trying to hold back tears. I pretended not to see, pretended not to know. I buried my head in the newspaper, in my phone, pretending nothing was happening. I remember once Mila made a small notebook meticulously detailing her menstrual cycle, ovulation days, and even the smallest bodily signs she thought were pregnancy symptoms. She also researched sexual positions, nutritional supplements, or even joined online forums about infertility. Every time she shared these things with hopeful eyes, my heart would clench. I had to suppress my emotions, try to appear optimistic, encourage her, knowing all those efforts were in vain. The deception grew larger every day, weighing on me like a 1,000-pound boulder. When she tried the pregnancy test for the 10th time, still only one line. No, maybe it was the 15th or 20th time. I had stopped counting. I only knew that this time she couldn't hide her disappointment anymore. She sat on the bathroom floor, clutching the blank stick in her hand, crying her heart out. Her cries weren't loud, just choked, trembling sobs, but they tore my heart apart. It was the cry of a woman who was exhausted, who had lost all hope. "Did I do something wrong?" she asked, her voice choked with tears, as if she was blaming herself for a mistake she hadn't made. "Why is it so hard, Aiden? I've tried so hard." That question was like a knife plunging straight into my heart, piercing through the strong facade I had meticulously built. I couldn't take it anymore. Everything shattered. The truth suppressed for so long suddenly burst forth. I knelt beside her, holding her trembling body tight. "No, it's not your fault," I said, my voice hoarse, tears beginning to fall. For the first time, I allowed myself to be vulnerable in front of her, letting my fear and pain pour out. "It's my fault. I can't have children." I confessed everything. Told her about the test results, about the fear that had tormented me for months. I told her about the sleepless nights, about the times I imagined her leaving me when she found out the truth. I had prepared myself for an argument, for accusations, for ultimate disappointment. I thought this was the end of everything. But no. She hugged me tightly. A suffocating embrace, as if she was trying to transfer all the strength she had to me. No accusations, no walking away, only the trembling embrace of two people trying to hold on to each other amidst an invisible storm, amidst a shared pain that no one could have anticipated. I felt the warmth from her body, felt the beat of her heart, and her hot tears falling on my shoulder. In that moment, I thought everything would be okay. Our love was strong enough to overcome any difficulty. I thought the truth had been revealed, the secret broken, and now we could face it together. I was too naive, too deluded. I didn't know that embrace, though full of love, was the beginning of a much more painful journey, a journey where only one person had to let go so the other could be free. In the months that followed, Mila tried to live more cheerfully. I saw her make an effort, a real effort. She bought a cat, a long-haired Persian with sapphire blue eyes. She spent hours brushing its fur, playing with it, and gave it the adorable name Cloud. Cloud became a new member of the family, bringing a little life, a little sound to our quiet home. She started volunteering at the orphanage nearby, spending every weekend playing with the homeless children. She would come home with sparkling eyes, telling me innocent stories, the bright smiles of the little ones. "The children are so lovely, Aiden," she would say, her voice full of tenderness. "They really cling to me. There's a little girl with curly hair, she keeps calling me Mama Mila." Hearing those words, my heart felt both warm and aching. I knew she was seeking comfort, trying to fill the void in her heart. She smiled more often. The initially forced smiles gradually became more natural. Every time I looked at her, I saw her trying to prove to me that she was okay, that she was fine, that having children wasn't that important to her. She would say things like, "It's okay if we don't have kids, we can just live together and taking care of Cloud is enough." Or, "I think having kids is a lot of pressure, it's good to enjoy this free life." I tried to believe those words. I tried to believe that smile, but I realized that smile didn't reach her eyes. It only appeared on her lips, on her face, but her eyes still held a deep sadness, a nameless longing. It was like a thin veil hiding a much bigger secret. I saw her eyes every time she passed a park watching children run and play. That look wasn't envy, but an infinite yearning, a deep-seated regret. I saw her awake all night, her phone emitting a faint blue light in the darkness. I knew she was reading about IVF methods, about the adoption process, about the success stories of infertile couples. She even ordered stacks of books on child psychology, on how to raise children. She did all of this silently, without complaint, without demanding. Her very silence, her ultimate patience, was what pained me the most. She never once said she wanted children after I told her the truth. She never demanded, never complained. But I knew. I saw. She was enduring, for me, because she didn't want me to feel guilty. She didn't want me to bear any more burdens. She was trying to steel herself, trying to give up the greatest yearning of her life to preserve our relationship. But what about me? I was just holding her back out of fear of losing her. My fear had become an invisible chain binding her to a life she didn't truly desire. I remember one night Mila was asleep, but I was still awake. I gently pulled back the blanket and looked at her face. There was a dry tear at the corner of her eye. Her hand subtly gripped the blanket as if clutching some dream. I realized her sacrifice, however noble, was slowly killing her from the inside. She didn't complain, she didn't blame, but her silence and forced smiles were more painful than 1,000 accusations. I couldn't bear to see her live an incomplete life because of me. I had deceived myself into thinking I was protecting this love, but in reality I was imprisoning her in a gilded cage of my own making. Every day the burden in my heart grew heavier. I felt like I was stealing her happiness, robbing her of the sacred right to be a mother. I saw her smile with the children at the orphanage, her eyes filled with love and longing. I saw her lovingly cherish baby pictures online, a faint smile on her lips. These moments, though small, felt like needles pricking my heart, reminding me of the cruel truth. I lived in extreme turmoil between love and sacrifice, between her happiness and my own pain. I knew it was time to make a decision, a painful but necessary one. I couldn't keep up the charade, couldn't keep imprisoning Mila's life in an unreal dream. I struggled internally a lot. During sleepless nights, I tossed and turned, torn between holding on to this love and letting her be truly happy. I loved Mila to the core. That love was greater than my fear of loss. I couldn't be the one to imprison her in a life lacking what she deserved. I couldn't make her choose between being a mother and being my wife, because I knew if she chose me, she would live with lifelong regret, and that would be more painful than us parting ways. I couldn't be that selfish, so I let go. That decision wasn't a sudden impulse, but a whole process of torment and struggle. I spent weeks tidying everything up, preparing myself for this fateful moment. I had imagined all sorts of scenarios. She would cry, she would be angry, she would beg me not to do it. But I knew it was the best thing for her, no matter how cruel it seemed. I sought a lawyer. Sitting in the cold lawyer's office, looking at the divorce papers, every word felt like a knife. I felt like I was tearing my own heart into pieces with my bare hands. The lawyer asked for the reason. I just said irreconcilable differences. I couldn't reveal the truth. This pain, I had to bear it alone. I signed it with trembling hands and a throbbing heart. The divorce paper was not just a legal document, but a death sentence for my dream, for my love. One evening in March, the air still carried a hint of night's chill. After Mila had fallen asleep, I sat down at my desk. The desk lamp illuminated the pre-written divorce papers. I had written it many times and torn it up many times. But this time I knew I had to do it for real. Every word, every line was a knife twisting in my heart. I looked at her name, my name, and the date of signing. It was like a death sentence for everything we had built together. I placed the divorce papers on the dining table. The place where we used to have breakfast, dinner, share stories. The place where we used to sit and plan our future, about our children. Now it became the witness to an end. I sat waiting for her. My heart pounded. My throat was dry. Mila walked into the kitchen, saw the papers on the table. She stopped. Her eyes scanned each line, stopping at the word divorce. Her face was expressionless, but I saw her shoulders tremble slightly, as if she was trying to suppress a choke. She looked at the paper for a very long time, a very long time. I don't know what she was thinking. Perhaps shock, pain, or a silent release. Then she quietly nodded. No tears, no argument, not a single word of accusation. Only a heavy acceptance and extreme weariness. I will never blame you, Aiden. Her voice whispered faintly, very softly, but every word was clear, like a sharp blade cutting into my heart. I just wish things were different. I wish things were different. That wish wasn't anger, but ultimate regret. It was a wish for a life we couldn't have together. I squeezed her hand one last time, gently, like the first day we held hands in the pouring rain when we were young, full of hope. Her palm was icy cold. I didn't say I was sorry, because an apology at that moment would have been meaningless. I just whispered, "Be the amazing mother you were born to be." I don't know if she heard me clearly, but that was all I wanted to say. It was the most sincere blessing, the liberation I gave her, even if the price was my entire life. That was our last embrace. After that, everything happened strangely fast, quietly, without arguments, without struggle. Each item was carefully packed, as if we were packing the fragments of a shared life. Every time I touched a keepsake, an old photo, my heart ached. The wall clock we had chosen together, the dinnerware set Mila loved, the sofa where we used to watch movies every night, all became silent witnesses to a love that once existed. She moved out. The house was left with just me and Cloud the cat. The only thing neither of us wanted to take, because we were afraid the animal was too used to this place, afraid it wouldn't adapt to a new environment. Cloud still curled up on the old sofa, occasionally looking up at me with its sapphire blue eyes, as if it too could feel the emptiness that enveloped the house. It was a silent witness to our brokenness. The house suddenly became terrifyingly large. Every nook and cranny echoed my footsteps, my own size. I walked around the house, touching the cold walls, and felt a huge void in my chest. I no longer heard Mila clattering in the kitchen, no longer saw her reading on the armchair. Everything became eerily silent. In the first days after the divorce, I lived like a shadow. Waking up every morning, no longer seeing Mila beside me, the room became cruelly empty. I went to work, completing tasks mechanically. Colleagues asked, I just nodded vaguely, avoiding all curious glances. I lost interest in everything. Every meal became tasteless. Every night I would sink into chaotic dreams where I saw Mila, saw children who never existed, and then woke up startled in the darkness, only loneliness surrounding me. I started keeping a journal. I didn't write for her. I wrote for myself. To shed the pain, the torment I couldn't put into words. Every evening I sat at my desk, the lamplight falling on the white page. I wrote about what happened, about my feelings when I received the test results, about the months I kept the secret, about the night I confessed everything, and about the moment I placed the divorce papers on the table. Today, clouds slept on your pillow again. It's still not used to you not being here. I passed the park today. A young family was playing. The child's laughter, like a knife cutting into my heart, but I know it was the right thing. I miss your voice, Mila. I miss your scent on the pillow. Sometimes I wonder, what are you doing now? Are you happy? Every evening I still brewed 2 cups of tea, one for me, one left on the table next to the sofa. The steam from my tea rose then slowly cooled. Like me, that cup had no one left to wait for. It was a symbol of my loneliness, of what was lost, and of a love that still existed, but only in silence unspoken. I started changing my routine. I began to run every morning, breathing the fresh air, feeling each step on the familiar road. Physical fatigue helped me forget some of the emotional pain. I ran through crowded streets, through parks where many families took their children to play. Every time I saw children, my heart ached. But instead of dwelling in regret, I learned to accept. I knew that was the path I had chosen, and I had to keep moving forward. I also started looking into support groups. At first I hesitated, afraid, not wanting to share my story with strangers, but then I realized that I couldn't keep carrying this pain alone. In those meetings, I listened to the stories of others, people who were also facing losses, difficulties. I learned that accepting my own vulnerability wasn't cowardice, but courage. Sharing pain wasn't a burden on others, but a way to heal. I also realized that Mila's departure, though painful, was precisely the catalyst I needed to confront the deeper issues within myself. The fear of failure, a man's pride, the pressure to always be perfect. All these things held me back, preventing me from living authentically. Now, with everything shattered, I had nothing left to lose. It was a strange liberation. I no longer had to put on a brave face, no longer had to wear a mask. I could be myself with all my flaws, all my scars. I learned to accept my imperfections, and that brought a strange peace. I know that one day she will have a baby who calls her mother, a baby who carries her blood, who carries complete happiness. And I hope that when she looks into the innocent eyes of that child, she will see the love I couldn't give her in any other way. A love that isn't selfish, isn't binding, a love big enough to let go. I envision her holding her child, her eyes sparkling with happiness. And in that moment, I believe that no matter how much pain I feel, my sacrifice was worth it. My family, especially my parents, were very shocked when they heard about our divorce. I had to explain a lot, but I couldn't tell them the real reason. I just said we grew apart, that we both wanted different things. My father, a man of few words, just looked at me with a look of deep sorrow. My mother cried a lot. I knew they were disappointed, but I didn't want them to bear the burden of my inability to have children. That pain, I had to carry it myself. Every time I visited my parents, I tried to appear strong and optimistic. I told them about my work progress, about my new plans. I didn't want them to worry about me anymore. But deep down, I knew they were always watching over me, always worried about the future of their only son. I also occasionally stopped by Mila's mother's house to check in. Although I'm no longer her son-in-law, I still consider them family. Mila's mother still treated me very well, sometimes even asking if I had eaten enough. I know they were also heartbroken, but they still showed me respect. I thank them for that. I understood that Mila had not told them the real reason for the divorce. She was also protecting me in her own way. That silence sometimes is also an expression of love. I still love her, always. That love hasn't faded with time, hasn't been overshadowed by the pain of separation. It still exists deep within my heart, like a scar that never heals, but is a testament to a great love. It's not a possessive love, a binding love, but a free love. A love that wants to see the person you love find complete happiness even without you by their side. But sometimes love isn't holding on, but letting someone live fully true to what they were born to be. I was once a selfish, proud man, afraid to face my own weaknesses. I once thought I could control everything, could hide every secret. But life taught me a painful lesson. Nothing is eternal, and the truth, no matter how cruel, will eventually be revealed. I lost Mila, but I found myself, a more honest, braver person, and someone who knows how to love in a different way. I learned that happiness isn't having everything you want, but knowing how to accept what you can't have and appreciating what you do. If you're listening to this and you've ever had to let someone go, not because you stopped loving them, but for some bigger reason, a reason you knew would bring them happiness, then I want you to know, you are not weak. You are stronger than you think. You are not a failure. You deserve to be comforted by that sacrifice, by your courage to put someone else's happiness above your own. That sacrifice is not weakness, but the pinnacle of love. I lost my wife, lost a part of my life, lost the dream of a complete family, but she will be a mother. She will have what she longed for most, what I with all my love couldn't give her. I believe that one day she will look back and understand that my decision, though painful, was the deepest form of love. And that love, my love for Mila and my love for her dream of motherhood, still exists in silence in a cold cup of tea each night and in my heart, still beating to the rhythm of two people even if there's only one left. It is a wordless love song, a story without a fairy tale ending, but it carries a profound meaning of growth, acceptance, and sacrifice. It taught me that sometimes the greatest love is letting go. A few years later, I happened to see Mila on a TV show about successful women. She was still beautiful, radiant, and what made me happiest, she was holding a chubby baby girl in her arms with dark, sparkling eyes just like Mila's. Her smile now reached her eyes, a complete, truly happy smile. I didn't cry, I just smiled. A relieved, contented smile. In that moment, I knew I had done the right thing. The pain in my heart was still there, but it was no longer a torment. It was a quiet joy. I knew that somewhere Mila was happy, and that was all I needed. My journey still continues. I still work, still go for my runs. I still live and live as authentically as possible. I don't regret my decision, because even though I lost everything, I kept the most precious thing, peace of mind and the belief that true love is unconditional giving. If you felt this story resonated with you or have similar thoughts and feelings, please don't hesitate to leave a comment below. Every opinion you share is a valuable contribution, helping me and others see life from more diverse angles. Let's share our stories, the lessons we've learned to grow stronger together. And if you found this story meaningful, please help me spread its message by liking this video and sharing it with those you think need to hear it. Your support is a huge motivation for me to continue sharing more stories, more hard-won lessons from life. Finally, don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on my latest videos about emotional life stories, secrets revealed, and profound lessons. Thank you all for listening. I wish you all happiness and peace, and please always cherish what you have as well as your loved ones. Goodbye for now.